Anthony Birchak back here on the program. Delino Lopez, UFC Fight Night 90, July 7th. That's the beginning of the long international fight week.
Yes, sir.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Great. I mean, it's amazing. They're putting this together. The cards are great. All three cards are great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's tons of, star power, man. It's just from top to bottom, there's not one boring fight.
Are you a guy that likes to go to expos? Are you a guy that's going to like to walk around and look at all the new stuff that's out there? Because these expos give you this is what the new thing is going to be for the week,
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I've been going since 2011, 2012 now, and just kind of seeing the evolution of everything and seeing what's new, what's hot. It's really cool, and being able to connect with fans on a more personal, face-to-face basis is really cool for me. I love it.
It could be a big distraction, though. A lot of people are coming in town. A lot of people will be around, more so than obviously the UFC has its own bubble of fans. But then now it's even worse because it's International Fight Week. Will that be a distraction for you as you're trying to get ready for this fight?
Well, don't get me wrong. I like doing that when I'm not fighting. But, since I'll be fighting this time, I'm really going to be just secluded and try to stick to the gym and stick to the hotel and really try to keep off of the strip and the tourist areas,
Right.
But, I got Friday and Saturday, Sunday to enjoy everything. So, after I beat this Brazilian, I'll be able to walk around and, kind of enjoy everything and take the lights in.
Let's go back and talk about Talis Almeida real quick. It was your last fight. It was a loss. Got KO'd in the first round. About 4:30 or thereabouts. Almost done with the first round, but didn't make it all the way to the bell. What happened? Was it one situation you just got caught, or did he surprise you with a particular combination?
No, I actually looked back and I've watched the film like 8 or 9 times, and just kind of looking at what happened. And the one thing that I noticed is that right around 3 minutes and 25 seconds, I rolled a hook and it kind of grazed the back of my head. And I noticed from there that dynamic movement that I had completely went out the window, and it felt like I was walking through, a waist-high swimming pool. And it was just really cumbersome for me to, trudge forward, So I thought one thing that was really going to be the edge with me and Thomas was my movement and, switching stances and giving him a different look and really confusing him. And it looked like it was working. Every time I would switch to southpaw, he would take 2 steps back. Right. I had him hurt with a head kick. And, after that 3 minutes and 25 seconds when I rolled that hook and he just kind of grazed my head, then, stuff started landing on my chin and my cheeks. And I just remember one punch that the one that put me on my heels as I ran back, was the one where I was like, man, I need to start moving again. And I just could not get my legs moving. Yep. And once I backed up to the cage, I was like, I need to start swinging here. And, I was impressed that I was still throwing offline. I threw my jab and moved my head off. I would throw my right and move my head off. But, 4 of those, and I slipped right into his right hand, which, ultimately led to one of the most brutal knockouts I've seen in a very long time or was ever been part of for that matter.
It's awesome when you're going back, you look at your old fights like, wow. That was a freaking amazing knockout. I was the one getting knocked out, though. It kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about it before. I've been a big proponent for not having the IV ban. And out of 15 fights, I've fought about 6 big punchers in my career, and I've walked through their right hands. You know what I mean? And for me to not have an IV this fight, I believe that the lack of hydration that I've had really led to me not being able to shake that one off.
You know what's interesting? I interviewed Jim Miller about 15 minutes ago, who's fighting on UFC 200, which is the Saturday night and the compilation of everything that for your fight week. He said exactly the same thing, that he actually stated he would rather fight somebody on steroids or that was blood doping than fight somebody while he's dehydrated because he's worrying about brain injury.
Absolutely.
This is now becoming a thing. So
if you go back to when USADA stepped in and the IV ban happened, look at how many one-punch knockouts over huge names that used to walk through big punches. Look who got knocked out: Ronda Rousey, Jose Aldo, me. I've never been knocked out like that in 15 fights, and then all of a sudden I don't have an IV and I go to sleep immediately off of a right hand. It was a very well-placed right hand, nonetheless, but I've never been dropped like that in my life.
This is raising some interesting questions now because the same thing I told Jim. The IV ban comes from cycling, and
yes.
Forgive me, I forget it, Jeff. The guy that caught Lance Armstrong and hunted him down. Okay, so he moves over to the UFC. one of the first things that comes about in this big, not only the drug testing, obviously, which is what was severely needed in our sport. I mean, and when Dennis Hallman said it on Inside MMA, and when Ken Shamrock said it on Inside MMA several years ago, that 80% or 90% of the fighters at the time in the big leagues were using some form of PED, it was closer to 95%. Like it literally, there was a handful of us that weren't doing anything, and everybody else was doing everything. It was crazy. So yeah, the drug testing needed to come in, but then the IV ban to me, it's really a strange thing, and they're trying to fix it with the dehydration tests. And obviously, we just lost BJ Penn, was supposed to fight at UFC 199, but he took an IV during training camp before, like when he was like a month out, and he didn't realize that you couldn't do IVs even during training camp. Like you only allowed.
Yeah. So, but that's what I don't get is why does he get blasted, but Brock gets a 4-month exemption?
That has got me so frustrated.
You know what I'm saying? Like why are you splitting hairs like that and ultimately leading to our safety? Because I'm a clean fighter, but this is the thing is if I know that you guys they simply did what was easy, not what's right. Oh, saline can block PEDs. Cool. We just won't have saline in the blood anymore. Rather than doing 1 or 2 more tests, supervised IV, IV introduction by a USADA representative. You know how the UFC feeds us after weigh-ins and they bring us in the back and they give us food and drinks and stuff? Why not put us at a booth, have a USADA representative, take a blood sample before, a blood sample after, and then a blood sample after fight night? That way you have 3 samples to look at, and you can say, okay, 2 out of 3 of these were bad, or 1 out of 3 of these were bad. Let's go back and do 1 more test. And then, it just seems like they just did what was easy, not what's right.
And what's happening now is that they're talking about costs, like cost of these tests and cost of that. And obviously the UFC is absorbing all of this cost, but the reality of it is for $25 more times 20 competitors, does it really make a difference? Like it's not like it's jumping up another $1,000 for a couple more tests. It literally is just spinning it a little bit more. It's really not that much more. It's crazy.
And what do you want to do? You want to spend money, or you want to have a bunch of dirty guys, punching each other?
And then you get guys like Tim Means who gets a 6-month suspension because his supplements were tainted. So he gets caught on the new system because the supplements are tainted. And some other guys got caught too, but Tim Means is the one that pops to my mind because I actually helped talk about that story with him. And it's one of those situations where you're like, it's not completed yet. The testing is not done yet. They haven't come up. They haven't found the right way yet. They're still working on it. It's all brand new to everyone.
Yeah, a lot of growing pains, obviously. Yeah. You know what I mean? But at the same time, is like USADA came to my house finally, and I was like, dude, I've been tweeting you guys, wondering when you're gonna stop by. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because I'm not super jacked that they're like, yeah, we don't need to test Birchak's skinny ass. You know what I mean? Like he ain't on nothing. And but I had all my supplements laid out on the table, and I said, look. I said, if I pop for anything, this is what it's going to lead to. And none of these things are illegal. I can buy these all over the counter. And the worst part about it is none of these supplement companies have to disclose any of their proprietary blends, which could actually carry something that's in a USADA banned substance, which if you go to 411.com doesn't give you any examples or legit concrete stuff. Like it's so hard to navigate that website to see, is this in my supplement? I don't know. Maybe cool. I'm just going to take it and continue to train hard.
And the thing is, though, I will correct something. Like a lot of stuff you can buy over the counter is banned by USADA. Like DHEA is banned, and I can go right down the street right now, a 2-minute walk, and buy a whole bottle of DHEA. Completely legal for me because I'm not competing anymore, but illegal for you because you're going to compete.
Yeah, and I get that, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to understand because if it's something illegal, make it illegal in stores. Like I get the DHA thing, but it's like as athletes, we have easy access to everything. Okay, so why am I gonna if I'm gonna cheat with something over the counter? Why am I not gonna cheat with something I can get in a locker room from some shady guy?
Yeah, right. Or now, not even a locker room from some shady guy. You can go to a doctor and get it. It's just like it's nuts now how this whole thing has progressed. But anyway, it's growing pains. They're trying to get this whole thing worked out. They'll figure it out eventually. The UFC will come out. And the problem is too is that they're under the UFC itself as a company is underneath the microscope because they are leading the way with dehydration tests, with ban on IVs, with drug testing. So everybody else follows what they do. So it's like why is LeBron James being said that he could be the best basketball player of all time? because he watched Michael Jordan do it before. And so all the mistakes Michael Jordan made, he's not doing. So everything else, every mistake the UFC makes, every other promotion is not doing it. Or
It's not going to do it,
doing it. So like, oh, it's a mistake. We just won't do that. We'll fix it. So the UFC is getting a bad rap and kind of getting beat up a little bit because they're the ones that are doing it first. And if it's not 100% correct, then they won't do it again. But everybody else is like, oh, they screwed up. Like,
well, I mean, let's go back to Thomas Almeida. Okay, if you look at our fight, I want you to take the post-fight picture from when we fought, and then look at him versus Cody Garbrandt here in the U.S. Completely different physical stature, completely different.
Yeah.
And I think if that fight happens here in the U.S. soil, it's a different fight for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe I'm on the other end of that highlight reel knockout. Yeah. You know. And that was something that really bothered me was none of us got tested in Brazil. You know what I mean? And that was something that really pissed me off. Is I got off the bus and I was waiting for a representative from the athletic commission to pull me in the back and piss in a cup, and it never happened. So I said this. I said let me just chalk it up to this. Let me just hope that I'm not important enough as a fighter to test. But at the end of the day, if I didn't get tested, who else didn't get tested?
Yeah. Yeah, and that does raise some questions. Like if now everyone's supposed to be tested all the time, but yet you weren't, you know, it's like, well, maybe they just didn't have and we all know that, you know, the whole Jose Aldo story of him running around and not being there when they're trying to drug test him before the McGregor fight, and all of a sudden, you know, not saying that he did anything wrong, just saying we know there's testing in Brazil. We know they have the ability to test in Brazil, so why wasn't everybody tested? I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that everybody.
And I actually told that to somebody from MMA Junkie. And, you know, they went and called the athletic commission in Brazil, who then deferred to the UFC, who then deferred to USADA. And they were just like, well, we do smart testing. You know what I mean? We don't want to give the fighters any inclination to when we're actually going to test them. And I was like, that's such a
What? That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Because they made it a point to tell you, you're going to get tested during training camp. You get tested during fight week. And you get tested after your fight. So 100% we know where you're coming.
I was blown away.
That's asinine for them to say we're doing smart testing. Everybody knows you're coming to test. Everybody knows this. You know, but it is cleaning up the sport. I will say this. And with the IV ban, we're going to see a lot of guys change weight classes. A lot of guys are bouncing up, you know.
Look at how many, you know, of these Brazilians now have a completely different physical stature. You know what I mean? You see guys that are changing, even Americans. You know what I mean? Yeah. Look at TJ. TJ's physical stature looks different. You know what I mean? And even Uriah said it. He looks like a 12-year-old kid now.
Yeah, so, yeah, he did.
I mean, it is cleaning up the sport, and I'm really happy about it. You know, because like I said, I've been a clean athlete competing with all these, you know, different guys. Some of them using PEDs, some of them not using PEDs. But the thing is now it's going to be a lot more even of a playing field. Look at how many times these belts are now changing hands. And look at how many times in the future these belts are going to change hands again. I can think about 3 belts that are going to not be held on to really soon.
It's good. It's a little bit crazy, but from a fan standpoint, from my standpoint now, it's amazing. As a referee, it's even more exciting now to step inside that cage or, you know, for these fights, because before you'd walk in like, okay, I really got to watch Bisping. I really got to pay attention to Bisping because Rocco's going to hit him hard. I got to be up to speed to make sure Bisping doesn't take too much damage. Off of him. Now all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, Bisping's a champ. Like it changes how everything is going on. So as a referee, you're like, wow, I really got to watch both guys. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. It's about the sport.
Verdum and Miocic, and then look at Overeem coming up. You know what I mean? That belt's going to go 3 different ways. Yeah. You know, I mean, the thing is like I said, if it's cleaning up the sport and it's doing a good job, then bravo. But at the same time, if you guys are just having growing pains and really not figuring anything out, you're going to end up hurting us in the long run by not keeping us hydrated. And that's the biggest thing. I'm a big champion for the hydration, man. It's just I've seen too many people take big hits to the head, and we've spoke about my brother being traumatic brain injury and suicide. The correlation between the two is incredibly and spookily right along with each other, and I hate that.
Well, you know, obviously the NFL is doing a lot of testing right now on concussion therapy. The UFC has jumped on board with all the concussion therapy testing. And people tend to forget about all the suicides of the returning vets that we have coming back from overseas. They see wartime, and they see live action, and they see bodies thrown apart, and they see explosions, and they come back, and they're committing suicide. They're like, oh, it's because of the emotional trauma from being over there. I'm like, no, you got to remember something. He saw the blast. He was in the blast radius. So he got hit and knocked off his feet. You're just standing, all of a sudden you get blown off your feet. Your head snaps. You're even though you got a helmet on and flak jackets, you're still going to smash onto the ground. If you're close enough, obviously, the blast radius without actually getting hit by shrapnel or anything else, even with your flak jacket on,
impact.
You'll get rattled. There is a ton of suicides we're having right now with veterans for the exact same issue, completely unrelated to being in combative sports, but being in combat will do it to you as well.
And I know a Navy SEAL that used to be a breacher, you know what I mean? And his job was to constantly put, explosives on a door and be right next to that when that blast is hitting him. That's a lot, and he told me he has like 12 lesions on his brain and that, the PTSD is a real thing, and him training martial arts really keeps him grounded enough, and it's therapy for him. So, I can imagine if that's just one guy that I know, how many more thousands of soldiers out there are suffering from that same stuff.
It goes right in the same relation. Hockey, football, MMA, boxing, amateur wrestling, judo. It's constant head impact. Plus, you're looking at like a lot of military. Obviously, most military guys that see frontline action, and then a lot of cops that see frontline action. Same issue. Like there are certain traumas that happen. You getting bumped off a car or in a car chase and your car spins out of control. Like all of a sudden now you have brain trauma. This is just one of those things that goes across the way, and it is difficult. And then now add into weight cutting, boxing, MMA. You also add in weight cutting. Now you're like, wow, this guy's getting brain trauma and he's dehydrated. It becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that whole 8% thing that they came up with for Fight Week is brilliant, because I've always shown up right around 145. I've never gotten on a plane more than 15 pounds over. I try to stay anywhere from 7 to 10 over. And because I know, one, I'm going to retain a lot of water on the plane. So when I get there, I don't want to be stuck in a sauna for 2 or 3 days. I just want to be able to, easily get it off and eat. Like for Thomas, I was eating steak and eggs that Wednesday of weigh-ins, and I felt great, but again, I was still depleted, obviously dehydrated, and I didn't get the hydration that I'm accustomed to with, taking a bag or a bag and a half of saline solution. And, I rehydrated with V8 because it had a lot of sodium in it. A lot of tomato paste and tomato juice has high sodium content. I tried just taking in a lot of salt, a lot of potassium, and a lot of coconut water. And it's just not the same. They're saying that oral hydration is the best way when time is not an issue. But when time is an issue and you only have a 24-hour turnaround, you need an IV, hands down.
And the studies they've done was oral hydration versus IV hydration separate. I want to see a study done, IV hydration with oral hydration. So you're getting an IV and you're drinking and eating at the same time. What does that do? What happens with that? Is it the same? Is it still, once you get to a certain level, you're even, or can you actually get back to, the full hydration levels at that point? And
yeah, absolutely.
I do like the fact of doing weigh-ins now, the official weigh-in between 10 and 2 p.m., 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Oh, that's
at 4 p.m. is actually just for the fans. That is incredible.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I love that. I got to be honest with you, for as much as I do jump all over the UFC for a lot of the mistakes they're making. I do question the athletes and question kind of what they're doing. I do firmly believe the UFC is going to get it 100% correct, and everybody else is going to follow suit once they get it 100% correct. And it's growing pains. It might take a year. It might take 2 years before they get it all worked out, because you've got to see. You have to have data. You've got to have time in. You've got to see how many people can get through these things and kind of check on how things are going to happen. Would you rather have them catch – would you rather have them have so much testing that they catch everybody that's dirty plus a few guys that are not dirty, and like a Tim Means situation where they've got stuff in their supplements where now all of a sudden they're banned for 6 months and they've got fines to pay because it's in their supplement? Or would you rather have them lighten it up a little bit and maybe have a couple of guys that are dirty sneak through again?
I mean, that's a rough question, you know what I mean? But the thing is, and those are two very extreme, one spectrum here, one spectrum here, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's either, if you get caught, you're just done. You're banned from the sport. Or if you don't get caught, you can continue to fight dirty. It's just a rough question, but I think over testing is definitely probably the way to go. Yeah.
I agree. And what's going to happen is then people are going to get smart about their supplements. They'll start switching, like a lot of people start switching their diet plans and looking at different things. And once you find a supplement that is completely free, and it'll become a new marketing thing, within the industry. Hey, there's nothing in our thing that's on the ban list. We guarantee it. We back it up. We'll pay your fine if you take this and there's something in it that's in the ban list, and then.
And that's brilliant because I'm sponsored by Garden of Life, which is an all natural supplement company. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they back by that. So anything that's done by Garden of Life, I'm sure if they say, hey, if this forever, whatever reason, if this ever comes up, you know what I mean? We'll address the situation for sure. And
that's what's going to happen. And I got to believe here in another 5 years from now, the protocols will change again. It's going to change every 2 or 3 years. It's going to be different testing. It's going to be different ways of going about the testing. Like it's always going to be evolving because the sport's evolving. We're only, 20 years old now? Or 22 years old now? We're not really that old. We're not like boxing's been over 100 years. Like we're literally just getting into our own rhythm right now. So it's going to be a lot of growing pains. So.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Anthony. I really appreciate you coming on. Have a great rest of your training camp. Good luck in UFC Fight Night 90. Hopefully I'll be there watching you live. I'm trying to get my final plane ticket to get back in there right now. It'll be great to see you fight that night, and hopefully we can hang out after.
For sure. All right, guys. Hey, you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Birchak MMA. I got a hashtag right now. It's Kill the Zill. I'm tired of fighting Brazilians and being on the losing end of this, so be sure to watch me July 7th on UFC Fight Pass and come back with a big win here in the USA.
All right, Anthony. Thanks so much, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.